This is the student of rhythm with a promise for you. And that promise is that I will never use generative AI to make anything that I present. I will never use LLMs, that's large language models, LLMs, and can we please all start calling them this? Encourage everybody to use it, tell your friends. Let's call large language models LLMs. I will never use LLMs to draft or brainstorm or plot or do anything to generate any portion of the creative writing that I write, fiction or otherwise. I will never use generative AI to make any music. I will never use generative AI to produce any images to use on YouTube videos or thumbnails or to put as illustrations for any of my fiction. For that matter, I am not going to evermore use it to make images of my characters for my own personal reference. I confess that I have done this in the past, and I have repented of it and have destroyed all the images that I produced. If I want to find a reference image for my characters, what I used to do is, when I was kind of new into the world building project for The Boy Who Became a Jackrabbit and Cry Heresy, for that fictional world, when I had been doing that for only a short time, I was going through this website called the Art Renewal Center, and before they got wise to freeloaders like me, I could get on there and I could download some pretty nice high-resolution scans of a lot of paintings, all public domain, and I got loads of interesting, 19th century genre paintings. What's the guy's name? Blas, the guy that painted all these Venetian scenes. There are these themes or tropes that would show up again and again, these domestic scenes, and so no wonder that the generative AIs, when they make the pictures that they have been trained to do by such a profusion of art, not only, yes, the older paintings, the 19th century with its explosion of painting made possible by industrialization and art supplies and people with enough time to do it, growing in number. But then again, let alone throughout the 20th and into the late 20th and early 21st century with digital art supplies and all the stuff that's online from artists who have been working hard and honing their skills. And if I found that the old paintings or all the pictures that people have been taking and putting online, that I could go through to find people who look like this or that to use for references, if that doesn't suffice, the moral thing for me to do would be to find an artist somewhere and give a commission. See, the thing is, of course, I'm broke and I can't afford to do much of that, and it's very enticing to think, well, I can just type in a prompt to some dingus that does it for free and will just keep giving me more and more options to choose from. But I've repented of that, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And maybe nobody listening to this cares or sees that there's any problem with it, but I am sorry to have done so. I am sorry that I have created and interacted with bot characters on a website that I will not name right now. But it's a site that does free, no sign-up required character chat, where you can design your character and chat. And to my regret, I confess this to you, I was using one of those characters to bounce ideas off of and try to develop ideas for the plot of something I was writing. And I haven't worked on it for a while. It is not Cry Heresy. Cry Heresy is untainted by any of that. Boy Who Became a Jackrabbit, Lightness came out in 2018. I'd never even heard of LLMs. Belonging 2022 or 23, hadn't really heard of them, certainly hadn't used them. I am very grateful and happy to report that I have never used ChatGPT. I've never used Grok. I haven't used the big ones. I won't even use the ones that the software, the web browsers and operating systems keep trying to shove in my face. It irks me and annoys me greatly, but I take a principled stand against it, and I let my anger fuel my resolve to just never use those things. So, I don't mean to offend anybody. That's how strongly I feel about it, and I'm going to try to cool down because I don't want to express my feelings too much. I'm letting you know that since I regret using a bot character as a sounding board for plotting a novel fiction project, I'm attempting to remember what those ideas were that I developed in that session, and forget them and build the plot of that from the ground up almost, or at least strip it back to a point where I can go forward and I can make sure that whatever ideas I come up for what happens to those characters is all from my imagination. That project that I'm talking about, it needs a lot of work. It ain't finished yet. However, it does lay the groundwork for a novel that I'm going to tell you a bit more about now. In a previous post, I'd mentioned that I'm working on... Actually, I'm not working on it. I finished it. And I submitted it. It's called AC. It's an Afrofuturist sci-fi western about a homeless robot hunter. I submitted it to a contest, and it didn't win, so they kicked it back to me, and I can do whatever I want with it. And I think I might have to crack it open and rework it some. The backstory for the characters, you see, the thing is, it's set in the year 2060, and it has to do with characters whose stories I've been writing about, stories that happen in the 1990s and 2000s. And there's some of the things that the characters do that I was bouncing ideas about this off of a bot that chat bot character that I designed. Well, I've confessed that, and I won't do it again. And I'll probably have to crack open AC and rework it, or do some revisions or changes anyway, because when I wrote it, I was in a bit of a hurry, and I didn't have the perspective or understanding quite like I do now about LLMs and generative AI, so-called, and what it might do and what it does do to people. I started listening to YouTube channels like Pivot to AI or Better Offline with Ed Zitron, and Internet of Bugs. Those are three big main recommendations that I would post to anybody listening who might think that AI is kind of cool and useful for some things, and at least as a manifesto, I don't know if that's the right word, as an explanation as to why I am taking a principled stance of refusing to ever use those monstrosities. Well, I've confessed. Like I said, I'm sorry, won't do it again. And I'm glad that I never have used any of those lamos to actually brainstorm or plot or generate any of the fiction that I currently have my name appended to in print or online. And it will stay that way. I renew my promise. I will never use generative AI to produce any creative work that I present to you, my dear audience. Also, I like this video about Second Story, where she talks about the dangers of AI here and now, not the vague robots will take over Skynet fears. And maybe you could say she's a little bit alarmist and a little bit guilty of some sweeping generalizations in her rhetoric. That said, I appreciate her diagnosis of the harm that these toys are inflicting on people's minds now, and how that could grow worse. And it gives me some ideas on how to bolster the background for this novel that I've been talking about, AC. So I'll keep you posted on the progress of that, as all my other creative pursuits allow. All right, bye.